Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Unique Not Different with me, Shamla. Today, I have Mr. Granville DJ Carter, who is from Barbados. He was here during the carnival season to talk about, his kaiser career and his success. But today, he's here on a different note to talk about his self-advocacy and inclusion in Barbados. So, Mr. Carter, good
Yes,
morning.
please. Good morning. Good morning to you and to TNT and to the rest of the world who are listening.
So can you take us back to the beginning of your journey? What was it like coming to terms with your blindness, and how did that shape the path you have taken in life?
Well, it hasn't been easy in the initial stages because, as a young man and you're becoming blind and you can see all of your friends who have the full visual acuity and they're going about their lives on a daily basis, doing the necessary things that they need to do. And me, as a person who is becoming blind, it has been very challenging at first. My self-esteem was very low, and I felt, embarrassed, to even to tell people the extent of my condition. But I told myself one day that um, in order for me to progress in life, I have to come out of that shell. And that is exactly what I did. I started getting involved with other persons who have similar conditions as I, and and the rest is history.
How old you were when you turned blind by chance?
Well, my eye condition is one that um, the process was gradually.
Oh,
So I have a condition called retinitis pigmentosa. And as I got older, my sight constantly deteriorated. Well, I can tell you that up to a couple years ago, I still had some sight, but today all of that is gone.
okay, very good. And what are some of the biggest personal challenges you have faced navigating daily life in Barbados as a blind person, and how have you managed to overcome them?
Well, I want to tell you that I have overcome everything
Mhm.
because everything to me is gradual, right? Coming up, I I had problems being able to study. I had problems going about my everyday life in terms of like having full access to all the things that I need, like banking, insurance, you name it. I would say in every sphere of life, I've had challenges, but I'm still working on them. So I would use the necessary assistance that I can acquire to help me to navigate um, in every area.
And
So I have computer which has the assistive technology, and
Mhm.
as a result of that, I now can navigate the virtual space and do things that person once had to do for me. I now can do all of those things on my own. In terms of like banking, we are still um, lobbying with banks, the financial institutions to get things like the ATM machines up and running so that we can navigate them, that we wouldn't have to share our personal information with people out there, who probably would eventually want to steal it from us and to hack us and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we are working all on these areas so that in time to come, we will be able to go to the ATM machine, push in our cards, and do our transaction all on our own.
So I
So,
guess just like I guess anybody else, as you go through life, you discover challenges and then you try to navigate to see what you could learn and how to overcome these challenges. So you
yes.
become a respected advocate for the blind community. What moments or experiences push you to take on that leadership role?
Well, I realize that people who have challenges need to have their own privacy without anybody infringing on them. So therefore, I decide that I want to be an advocate for persons like myself and others.
Mhm.
So therefore, that is what pushed me to go that route. At present, I am now the president of an organization in Barbados called the National United Society of the Blind Barbados. And with that avenue, I believe that I can help to make things happen.
Nice. So you mentioned that there are gaps in terms of accessibility for persons who are blind and visually impaired. But from public infrastructure to employment, where do you see the greatest gaps in accessibility in Barbados, apart from banking that you mentioned?
Well, there are a lot of gaps like accessibility um, on the streets, the terrain, the sidewalks, um, obstacles that the people put in the sidewalks, like poles and sign poles and those sort of things that would inhibit your full um, navigation on the streets and stuff like that. And then into some buildings, you
Mhm.
still don't have the full access to go into buildings. Like for instance, like for me, I can walk up a step, but there are persons who have using wheelchairs still need to have ramps and handrails and stuff like that. So it is those things that would kind of inhibit our progress. But I also sat on an advisory committee a couple 2 years ago where we lobbied, met with all different types of organizations, governmental, faith-based organizations, and every organization that you can think about, um, lobbying, putting things in place to with all the areas that affect persons with disability in relation
Yeah.
to housing and stuff like that. So and that has passed. So therefore, we know there's a timeline. Some things that take mission critical things would take like maybe a year, some would 2 years, 3 years. But we
Mhm.
believe that if we continue pushing, that eventually these things will fall into place and it would make life much easier for us.
Yeah. So, what message would you like to share with the public and policymakers about what true inclusion means and how can we all play a role in achieving inclusion and equity?
Well, I believe that um, if the persons in those areas, in the governmental areas, will start to use a little more empathy. When you see yourself in a position like an individual, and and there are certain things that you need to have done, and you begin to use some empathy and tell yourself that, hey, if it was in this position, would I want to be the way that such persons are? And in that way, I think that when people become more empathetic, they will see what you need, and that if they were in your position, they would need those things also, and they will push harder to help us to get and to be successful.
Mr. Carter, I want to say thank you. And I think that is a great closing point where You talk about empathy. I think more now than ever, given what is going on globally, that we really need some empathy and compassion amongst our people in order to, I guess, sustain and in order to find out that equilibrium of, I guess, integrity. So really, I want to say thank you so much for sharing and spending your time and sharing. You know what's been going on in Barbados, and please keep up the great work, and we'll be in contact.
I will. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, and guys.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. And guys, with that being said, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in to this week's segment of Unique Not Different. As I always say, be good, do good. Bye, everyone.
Bye.